We'll see how much time we have on there. Well, there are at least 3 questions that I am required to ask.
Okay.
First is, why do you create art?
Oh yeah, why do I create? The easiest answer there is because I can't help myself.
It's in your blood.
It's in, yep, it's almost like an OCD kind of thing.
Okay.
But I like Andy Warhol's answer better. It's like, they ask him that, why do you create art? He says, well, it keeps me busy, or gives me something to do, kind of thing.
And, let's see, how do you define your artist identity? Loaded.
Oh, probably bohemian, primitive, outsider art.
Is collage your main interest and focus?
Yeah, collage kind of is what got me back into this, because my degree's in architecture. And so I did that for a little bit, but then I became a design builder. And so this is kind of the same thing where, building assemblages, collages, you're doing the building thing. And then I kind of go back and forth between the 2D and the 3D, which Max Ernst did a lot back in the day when he would do those black and white collages. It really does the two inform each other, the 2D and the 3D. So whenever but it's quicker with the 2D, so whenever you're having that like writer's block, you jump into that and then gets the juices flowing, because it's kind of instantaneous. Kind of gets you back into the flow.
Right.
So.
Okay. And how does your environment influence your work?
Well, and again, that's architecturally related. That's a big thing, the spatiality. Like here, it's kind of funny. I have probably ended up doing artwork in a bunch of different places, not just like, here's the studio, here's the thing. You should do it right here, and you will do your entire life's work in this one spot. And I can't seem to do that because my work is not always the same each time. So that it's always does seem like the environment plays a big part, where I don't know which dictates the other really sometimes. But it's I've always been that way, where it's very critical. Like especially in architecture, when you would be in a studio environment and everybody had these cubbies. I mean, everybody created these entire self-contained, spatial environments. That was almost more fun than anything else. And then it doesn't necessarily I don't know. I think it's the same thing like just doing artwork. It's more of doing some kind of process thing that just kind of gets you in your headspace. It doesn't necessarily, I don't know how directly it influences.
Yeah.
But here I found it interesting where, and maybe a lot of it might have had to do with size limitations too. Excess size pieces. I think I had to do that, leaning up against there. Wouldn't have been dragging that into the studio. So I'm trying to go. And then at one point, when I had a couple of these pieces, I almost had like, what do you call it? Not stages, but you got one going on here, one going on there.
Yeah.
And I had like 3 all going at the same time, because sometimes that happens with collage.
Right. Well, because you have to find what you're looking for in order to create what your vision is. But if you got a lot of pieces everywhere, I'm sure that takes time.
Right. It's so non-linear. collage and assemblage is so nonlinear that you're somehow looking for some patterns, and you can't do that just sitting with one thing. I mean, first you got all these pieces, and then you may be trying to be doing one whole, but it's like you're kind of trying to I don't know, connect to whatever you're supposed to be making, and you don't know what it is exactly. I mean, you may have an idea,
Right.
but man, it's like I tell people when I come and work on something, I don't even know what I'm going to do, and at the end of the day, I'm just as surprised as anybody else.
Well, the humanists used to believe that it was coming through the divinity anyway, so it wasn't even, you just, that vessel. So
Yeah, you're like a conduit. And I mean, you might, or you're kind of maybe steering and searching at the same time.
Yeah.
And so,
Do you then clip out a bunch of stuff and you're just like, what you're intrigued by, all these just random magazines and things, and kind of create piles and saying, okay, yeah, I could see how I would use this together and group them and stuff? I mean, that's just how I would.
no, and I can't, I tried to do that. I've tried to organize it better, and then also, it always seems like what's ever on the top of the surface is what, sometimes, especially if you're doing collage on a desk, and it's like all of a sudden, it's whatever catches your eye might lead to, the whole thing.
Right.
And it's like, that's kind of like the muse part, where it's like, you get that muse, and then you go from there. But now it gets, and sometimes it gets to a point where, like this one in particular, where it's like, how was it that I ended up with just the right number of heads? And at the very end, I got that far to where the little Indians are, and a lady came in and she brought in exactly that many for me to finish it.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of serendipity that goes on too with items. You can have kind of this bulk stored up, and like an inventory, but that's no guarantee until it actually gets put in motion. And then an example on this one right here
Okay.
was because time plays a big part. About 3 of those letters are done with like travel brochures, but then I ran out of information, so then I had to supplement with photographs, and that I then turned into color Xeroxes, which gave it a much more personal touch. But then I went up to Taos during the construction of it and got some, real estate magazines that had all those views with clouds. And if I hadn't done that, how would that have fit in there? And then I was doing all these New Mexico magazines, and then a lady said, "Oh, you need some of those?" And she gives me like 5 or 6, and even some of the things inside them I used. And then some guy goes, "Hey, well, you don't have the Silver City train station in there." And so he brings me the poster. And he brings it right at the time when I'm right on that spot.
Yeah.
And so really the main thing is you just have to be listening all the time. Because it's not linear, and you're just trying to pick up threads, and then
The universe is trying to show you.
yeah, and then you're trying to connect the dots and connect them. But when it happens, like those people just show up, you're going like, then you're really, I guess, you're really in the flow.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna real quick walk around and just
All right.
videotape, and then I want to talk to you about the fact that I want to be a landscape architect.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I almost went into that when I was in architecture.